Master of man and machine, servitor to none, the coyote awaits. Skilled and tenacious, a predator without peer, the coyote strikes fear in the hearts of its enemies. Pain at their sides, death at their throats. As one of the oldest battle mechs in existence, the fact that the Griffin still exists in all of its variants and upgrades is impressive. First produced in 2492, the 55-ton battle mech has seen its mission statement shift over the course of centuries from heavy assault to medium fire support. With the weapons available at the time, its popularity with the Mechwarriors that piloted them, and the battlefield commanders who put them to work, it's fair to say that the Griffin has been a successful design. After all, if a piece of military hardware is still in use 600 years after it's first introduced, it must be somewhat useful. Of all the mechs that inspired the Clan 2C designs, the Griffin has always been frustrating to me. The mech looks fine, if a little generic to our pampered 21st century sensibilities, and the weaponry in the 3025 1N version is okay if a little lackluster for a 55-ton battle mech. What has always stuck in my craw is the placement of both the PPC and the LRM-10 on the same side of the battle mech. It's a self-inflicted weakness that drives me up the wall, as there really isn't a good reason why you would pile both weapons and the ammo for the LRM-10 into the right torso and arm while leaving the left side of the mech empty. So while I would happily bring a Jenner or even a Shadowhawk onto the battlefield, I wouldn't willingly take a Griffin unless there is no other option, especially in video games like HBS BattleTech or the Mechwarrior series, where your right torso is a liability and may as well just have a giant target painted on it. At the very least, maybe a left-handed version could be produced to force your opponent to double-check which side he or she will be obliterating over the next few turns. Okay, now that unhinged rant is out of the way, we can get back on track. When it was the Griffin's turn to receive the 2C treatment from the clans, Novacat designers returned to the original purpose of the battle mech, which was a solid mid-weight platform with powerful weaponry that could fire at all distances. Instead of going up in weight like many other 2C designs, the Griffin 2C would be 15 tons lighter, which is a drastic cut even above the Shadowhawk 2C, which was 10 tons shaved off from the original. The end result, as we see, is a jack-of-all-trades medium battle mech, which could be employed in a wide range of situations and perform consistently. Constructed around a consolidated Fusion 240 standard engine, the Griffin 2C, introduced in 2852, could hit a top speed of 97 km per hour, which is fairly typical for a 40-ton clan battle mech, and speedy when facing comparable weight inner sphere designs. Like so many other 2C designs, weight is saved through the use of endosteel and ferrofibrous armor. While this does add greater expense, it also buys weight for additional equipment and weaponry. To aid in getting from point A to point B in as much style as possible, the Northrop Starlifter M40 jump jets allow the Griffin 2C to leap up to 180 meters, which may be the preferable way to move in all but flat and empty terrain. With 7 tons of alpha compound ferrofibrous armor, the Griffin 2Cs are tough nuts to crack compared to most other 40-ton battle mechs. Being relatively quick, agile, flexible, and well protected made the Griffin 2C a desirable mech for the clan's second line. Clan Novacat was quick to capitalize on what was quickly determined to be a successful design by expanding production lines and working out lucrative licensing agreements with the other clans. The original Griffin 2C had a loadout which would be somewhat familiar to fans of the inspiring cousin. However, instead of being given a PPC, the mech was supplied with a Series 7 NC extended range large laser. My favorite feature of this weapon choice is that the laser is located in the center torso rather than that right arm. I know you lose a little bit with aiming, but it is a lot safer in the middle. This can extend the mech's ability to stay combat effective, as my primary complaint about cramming all the weapons in one torso and the attached arm is addressed. In addition to the ER large laser, the Griffin 2C has 4 Type 5 longbow LRM-5 missile launchers, which are split evenly between the left and right torsos. Finally, with 0.5 tons of remaining space, the ER small laser was added to the mech's head. With this loadout, the mech is dangerous at all ranges, cannot be easily hobbled without having to disable the mech entirely, and can get in and out of trouble quickly. Thanks to the double heat sinks, heat's not really an issue unless you're somehow firing that ER small laser every turn. If you are, please tell me how. How are you doing that? Overall, the Griffin 2C sounds pretty good to me. The mech, in its various forms and upgrades over the years, proved itself useful across many conflicts. It was found in the tumens of many of the clans, and at the dawn of the Ill Clan era, Clan Seafox is now openly selling the battle mech to anyone who can afford one. Along with the Shadowhawk 2C, the Griffin IIC is becoming a well-known mech across the battlefields of the Inner Sphere. The thought of those two mechs being teamed up is worth appreciating for a moment. A little more. Not quite. There we go. The Griffin IIC's first variant graced us with its presence in 2973, which swaps out the LRM-5s for 4 Streak SRM-2s. While it does shift the battle mech to focus more intensely on short-range combat, I can see where the designers were headed with it. The use of streaks instead of standard LRMs is going to be more conservative with ammo use and prolong the battlefield combat effectiveness of the mech. While it's true it does give up a little bit in that long-range punch, the ER Large Laser is still going to be able to put fire on target. I wouldn't hesitate to team this variant up with the Shadowhawk 2C so that they could just absolutely wreck light mechs together. Zelbriggan be danged. I could even see the Griffin IIC 1 and 2 working together in tandem to great effect. In fact, I wanted to put this combo to the test, so I fired up Mega Mech and ran the pair against some Inner Sphere light mechs. Beside my poor decision to jump jet onto a building that immediately collapsed, it went quite well. Being able to jump jet around and get around behind the light mechs made for quick work when the ER Large Laser and/or missiles hit their targets. You can even push the heat a bit on both and not worry too much, which is a big plus when you want to take that extra missile shot when it counts. Now that one variant must have been enough to satisfy, because the Griffin IIC-3 wouldn't hit the scene until 3060, nearly 90 years later. It retains all the stock hardware, including the ER Large Laser in the center torso, but replaces the LRM-5s with 2 medium heavy lasers, a small heavy laser, and 2 Streak SRM-2s. This is another one of those 2C variants which goes all in on the heavy laser technology, though I appreciate they didn't mess with the ER Large Laser. Unfortunately, the heavy lasers turn the mech into a hotbox, so heat management skills are going to be necessary if you are a Mechwarrior assigned to this battle mech. The Griffin IIC-4 also arrives in 3060 thanks to a collaborative effort between Clan Diamond Shark, Clan Novacat, and Clan Cloud Cobra. Again, the ER Large Laser is retained in that coveted center torso slot, but the missiles are upgraded to a pair of advanced tactical launcher 3s. The involvement of Clan Cloud Cobra was somewhat confusing to the Diamond Sharks, but the Novacats insisted it was crucial. Later, during the abjurament, when the Novacats were fighting for their existence against the other clans, the Cloud Cobras ended up providing much-needed aid and ended up saving many lives when properties and the Novacat citizens were incorporated into Cobra's holdings without mass slaughter. The other notable aspect of the 2C4 design is a redesign of the armor layout itself, which drastically changed the way the mech looked, though it was functionally the same. The Griffin IIC-5 reflects a slight shift in mission, as the missile secondary weapons are abandoned in favor of 6 light machine guns and an ER small laser. The ER Large Laser is retained, but they moved it from the center torso up into the head. Why? Because they wanted to, that's why. Don't be so nosy. Additionally, the loadout provides enough weight for extra jump jets, which boost the range of the powered leap to 210 meters. Now, if you've been following along with the 2C videos so far, you'll be able to predict when the 2C5 was introduced. If you said 3071, you'd be spot on, as the light machine guns reflect that shift during the 3070s to start building more anti-infantry weaponry into battle mechs. All due to a little land dispute with a certain band of zealous phone company employees. With the 2C5, you're either hanging back to provide fire support with that ER Large Laser, or you're getting in very close to hit with those MGs and ER Small Laser. Mid-range doesn't really do anything for you, so buyer beware. Now that you're very comfortable with the ER Large Laser being a thing, here comes the Griffin IIC-6 to run up to the campsite, grab you while you're in your sleeping bag, and bash you against a tree. First produced in 3073, the 2C6 takes the 2C5, pulls the ER Large Laser, and replaces it with a large heavy laser in the left torso. Thankfully, there's room for a targeting computer and another jump jet to boost the total powered leap distance to 240 meters. I don't want to sound like a broken record here, but if you're really into heavy lasers, this may be the variant for you. Personally, I think most of the time it's not worth giving up that ER Large Laser's range for the extra damage of the large heavy laser. But it's up to you. Do what you want. I'm not your dad. Maybe though. Probably not. Introduced in 3083, the Griffin IIC-7 is the first variant that takes the leap up to an XL engine. This pushes the mech's top speed up to almost 119 km per hour and leaves enough room for a bevy of new weapons. In the left and right torsos, the 2C7 carries a pair of ER medium pulse lasers. Now recall, those are a -1 to hit rather than a -2, but the range is a bit better. In the right torso, there's also a Streak LRM-10, and in the left torso, a Streak SRM-6 finishes off the loadout. It's a weapon heat neutral and capable mid to short range brawler. If you haven't had the opportunity to play with Streak LRMs or ER pulse lasers, this could be the perfect opportunity. Primarily produced by the Jade Falcons starting in 3078, the Griffin IIC-8 keeps the ER large laser in the head but complements it with a pair of medium heavy lasers, 2 Streak SRM-2s, and an ECM suite. The 2C-8's XL engine also buys room for improved jump jets, which send the mech soaring and fits the Dark Age Jade Falcons nicely. An obvious drawback is the lack of heatsink coverage for the weaponry, with the standard 10 double heatsinks firing the ER large laser and the 2 medium heavy lasers will push you 6 over on that turn. Add in the Streak SRM-2s and you're even worse off. If you do go with the 2C-8, watch your heat and choose those heavy laser shots carefully. Finally, the Ill-Clan era variant rolls off the assembly line in 3144, going back to its roots with a standard engine and original jump jets. Strangely enough, this variant was created by the Draconis Combine and was produced by Luthien Armor Works. Now this might seem odd, but remember the Novacats ended up in the Combine. This was accomplished by taking examples of the Griffin IIC from the Novacats, and they reversed engineered them. The typical center torso ER large laser has been swapped out for a medium X pulse laser, which provides that -2 to hit, but at a reduced max range of 9 hexes. This was likely done to compensate for a lack of access to clan ER large lasers. A pair of Thunderbolt 5 missile launchers sit in the left and right torsos, and an ER small laser polishes things off. This is an interesting variant, not just because it'll likely be painted Combine red when you see it on the battlefield. The lack of a heavy, hard-hitting, long-range primary weapon is uncharacteristic for the Griffin chassis, and I'm not sure that a pair of Thunderbolt 5s can make up for that. At best, it's a mid and short-range brawler that can do up to 19 damage in a turn if all the weapons hit. That really isn't great. Of all the variants, I think I'm most fond of the original Griffin IIC and the 2C2. Maybe I'm just an old fart stuck in his ways, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I'm glad the Griffin got a 2C treatment, as it was used so extensively in the centuries before the Exodus. It makes all the sense in the world that the clans would try to fix obvious issues and upgraded everything else. Of the non-Omnimech mediums, the Griffin IIC is a solid pick I'd happily take onto the battlefield. What do you think about the Griffin IIC? Is it a keeper? Would you take it instead of another 40-ton clan option? Let me know in the comments and we can keep the discussion going. Don't forget to hit all the buttons so that YouTube knows the video is worth watching and sharing with new people. Watching the numbers slowly go up is good for producing happy brain chemicals. Big thanks for watching, and for everyone who goes the extra step to directly support the channel by becoming members. If you can't do that, remember the best way to help is to share the video with someone else who might enjoy it. That's free too. I'll see you soon, take care, go make the world a slightly better place today and tomorrow.